All right, welcome to another edition of Lesson Notes, and today we're really talking about the face-on perspective and things that would cause the ball to pull from this perspective. So this is a competitive junior, very, very good player, and he came into the session complaining about hitting it left, but when we looked at the down the line perspective, which is really down the target line, we really didn't see anything that would be causing the ball to go left, something like the face being really, really strong or looking closed. And so anytime that's the case, I would go to this perspective and I would really start to look at how the body is moving and how the shaft is kind of moving through the golf ball and how those two things relate. So the video on the left is the before. So let's go ahead and watch this for a few minutes and see if we can kind of pick up some clues as to what we would do. And so right here at the top of the backswing, I would argue there is nothing that's really correlating with him hitting it left. Everything's fine. He's not moving into his trail side. It looks very, very good, very, very centered, nothing crazy. So the real issues kind of come from the downswing, which we're going to start with how the hips are moving. So when you start to see your hips laterally shift an excessive amount towards the target, what you're going to see is a couple things. One is eventually the head is going to start kind of moving back into this box. So watch how the head kind of moves. You see how it kind of was left, but then it starts moving backwards a little bit? Well, as we see that, we're also going to notice that the hips, I'll actually draw a line here just so you can see. So there's his hips right now. Now watch, they're going to keep moving towards the target, kind of thrusting as his head is moving back. Okay, so that would be number one. And then number two would be, let me clean this up as we go back. Anytime that I see daylight right here, that most likely means that the hips are shifted too much and this person's going to struggle with some ground contact or the pulls. And when it ultimately comes to the pulls, that's going to look like this. The shaft has kind of passed the hands and now it is laying back, and that is adding loft, and you will likely see some very, very high pulls. I would also argue, generally speaking, for a lot of players, they would see a lot of fat contact. This, like I said, this player is very good, so he doesn't really struggle with the ground contact that much. But I would expect that if someone moved like this, they could see some fat contact. So let's go to the adjusted and kind of talk about some of the things that we talked about in order to kind of remedy some of this. So again, there's no difference in the backswing. Length of swing is the same. But the first thing I told him is I wanted him to really feel like his hands were getting back in front of him. And I wanted to kill a little bit of the lateral shift towards the target, because the more that he laterally shifts, the more that his hands are going to be behind him and he's going to add loft. So we can see, let's go to this position on both swings. I'm going to clean this up a little bit. So we can see these are fairly close to the same frame. And you can see, one, the hips are not near as shifted towards the target that way. And then if we look at the daylight between the right hip and the hand, you can see that is completely gone here. And so that means that the hands are now more in front of him. They're more towards the target. And the shaft would be more in front at impact. And that's really, really what we want. We need the shaft to be more in front, because that would lower the loft and that would keep the face open. And so if we continue to play this out, you can see right there, now the hands are back in front, the shaft is slightly in front, and that is going to lead to much, much better strikes. Now, in this video over here, I didn't quite get the impact frame, but you can kind of see where this is going. You can see the trail leg is kind of collapsed, he's laterally shifting, and the shaft is passing. And you can also see in this video on the right, if I the head is not moving near as much to the right in this video. Okay, so those are kind of the clues that I would be looking at from this perspective, which would tell me if someone's going to hit it fat, hit a pull, hit it higher than you want. Anytime that the body is kind of leaning this way, you're usually going to hit it very, very high, again, because you're adding loft. You're not adding loft through the shaft so much as you're adding loft through your body, and the shaft is just responding. Let's go to the follow through a little bit. I want to get to this picture here. And you can see that's basically the same angle on the same picture frame. And you can see the trail leg is a little bit straighter. One of the things I had him do was try to feel like his right leg was staying down a little bit longer. The right foot was staying longer, which is going to kind of kill some of that lateral shift with the hips. But the other thing I told him was I wanted him to feel some arm extension. So you can see the club hasn't rehinged. What I mean by rehinge would be there's the arms and then the club is making this L. You can see in this we're trying to keep the club like straighter, like not have so much club head passing. And that would also help lower the loft. So those are some very subtle differences, but at the end of the day, we just need to see the ball flight be different. And as this player left his session, he definitely was hitting it much, much different, much lower, much more right. Now, I had this ball on the ground here to make sure that the swing direction or club path were still staying to the right. So that's the only reason that was there. That was another difference. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. If you're struggling with your contact or you're hitting high pulls, you should definitely look at the down the line perspective, but I would also look at the face on, as that's going to give you a lot of clues as well. And again, anytime you're making changes, you need to be able to show it on video, kind of like I'm doing here, just so that a lot of times people will hit it better just because they start hitting it better through timing. But if the video doesn't look different, I would argue that it's not going to last. But if we can swing like this, in this player's perspective, in general, he should definitely see, much improved ball striking. I appreciate you watching. Hopefully this was helpful, and drop a comment if it was helpful, and stay tuned next week as I will be making another lesson notes video.